So we'll do this from several angles because I think this one's a little bit harder to see. But we're going to do that kind of more traditional armbar that pretty much everybody does. So again, a lot of times what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be looking for this break-in posture, and I don't have to on this one really worry about capturing this arm yet. It's probably actually not really going to happen. Now, the way that I personally tend to do this is that I will reach up and I'll grab right here on the tricep, and then I'll glue this onto my chest. It's not 100% necessary, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and do it without just for a second so you guys can kind of see how this works. But you're going to see why I kind of prefer this as well. So his arm's just hanging out there for right now. And I'm going to break his posture down, and I'm going to take a cross grip onto the shoulder, and I glue my elbow to my chest, right? And I've got this nice strong hook on his shoulder so he can't posture back up. I might even be using mostly this leg, right? The leg that's on the side that I'm going to pivot to. This leg is going to still stay pinched in. You see I've kind of opened my guard at this point. So a lot of times I'm going to take this hand, I'm going to underhook the leg, and I start to cut this angle. Now, you see that right now, my thigh here, right, is blocking him from being able to take the arm. This hand is still cupping that shoulder, right? So we were doing a cross cup here, and now I'm going to bring this around very tight the whole time, and then I'm going to get into that position, and then I can finish that arm bar relatively easy. So that's kind of your more traditional setup to that. The way that I do is a little bit different. So if he's kind of posting up on my hips like we talked about in the last video, again, he's going to be way taller. He's going to be way up here. His arm's going to be relatively straight here, right? If I can, I'm going to take this hand under his hand, and I'm going to grab at his tricep. So I'm grabbing here, right? And I'm sucking into my chest. Boom. And what you see a little bit with this guy is that is actually going to break his posture. So I'm basically taking his arm like this. So, right, if somebody were to start to pull this arm here, you see that that's going to also help break my posture down. And the reason why I'm grabbing up here is if I grab here, right, he's just going to pull that out. But if we go in this this humerus area, right, this bone, and again, if I'm up here, the amount of influence I have over the arm is very little. I have influence over the shoulder, but not the arm. So I want to have influence over the arm and his posture. So I'm going to grab right at the end of the lever before going on to the next segment of arm, and I'm going to suck that down. And you see when I suck that down and pull it into my own chest, it's dropping his shoulder down. It's what's going to be help breaking his posture. And if I want to, as I'm doing that, I can totally draw my heels in to help with that, right? So that same little break we talked about is going to help with that. So I am here, okay? I'm going to take this hand, I'm going to come across, and I'm going to go right into the tricep area, and I'm going to suck that down into my chest, which is going to help break his posture. Maybe I'll go for this here. Now everything from here on out is the same. One of the things that this kind of helps me do is I'm controlling that elbow, right? So as we kind of talked about a little bit, and I've alluded to a little bit for defending the armbar, there's a few ways that you can start to defend it. One is that if I'm trying to break his arm, I'm going to go over on the opposite hip as what his head is on. So if I am here, right, I want to break it over here. So if he brings his arm down like this and bends it and wraps it around here, well now I don't really have an arm bar to go for. I have to actually fight for this, and he might start walking around to unwind that and to kind of take a side control position or whatever he can get. So that's number one. The number two way that he's going to do it, right, he's in this armbar position, and he's going to move his body out and turn in and drop that elbow to the ground, and thereby removing my hip penetration. We talked a lot about this on the escapes video, that we're trying to break apart that connection. We're breaking apart what makes that technique work. So by moving away and getting on his side and getting his elbow down on the ground, now I've lost hip penetration. That armbar is no longer there. I have to reestablish it. So that principle is still active here. So I get this arm here, right? I go under his arm, and I grab that. I break his posture down. I grab his shoulder, right? The opposite shoulder with the opposite hand. And I suck my elbow into my own chest. So both elbows are sucked in, because when I connect my elbows to my body, it's going to be much stronger, much harder for them to break it apart. Now, I get my angle. Come over and throw my leg over, put my boots on, draw my heels in, a little bit of tension with my iliopsoas, bring my knees into my chest just a little bit, not like I'm like really crunching, but then I'm here, and then I can lift up on those hips and break that arm. So, 5 principles of a good arm bar. I know you're probably tired of it by now. Hip penetration, heels in, knees together, top of the lever, that's going to be his palm, his thumb, right? And then hips up. Okay? So, we're looking at establishing that it's no different from the guard position than it was in that side control position that we did, or knee right, or whatever we did earlier. So, broke that posture down, boom, and then I'm keeping things tight. I'm actually squeezing them a little bit. One thing I haven't mentioned, this is strong. In both the traditional and the this one I'm trying to give you right now, this is what's strong. I'm pulling down on him. But one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to squeeze so tight that I can't move. And this becomes even more relevant in the triangle. But right now, I'm trying to draw this heel down. This heel, drawing it, and it's like I'm already finishing that arm bar, right? When I push, when I pivot, I'm pivoting. I'm not pushing his head away, because if his head goes away, his shoulder goes away. If his shoulder goes away, I lose that hip penetration. So I'm really just kind of getting that angle there and holding his head in position so I can bring that leg over, and then go for that arm bar. Again, if I'm pushing that off, I might lose that hip penetration. That's one of the things I see relatively often with new people. So that is going to be kind of your first armbar that you can get from the guard. So go ahead and give that a couple practices before you move on, and we'll be going into the triangle choke.